Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far. So today I've got a highly requested comparison video for you, and we're going to be comparing the Gucci, I was going to say D&G, I keep on saying that. We are going to be comparing the Gucci bronzer against the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush bronzer. We're going to be finding out which is the best, which is the most flawless, which I prefer and why, and how they compare to each other. And I'm also going to be swatching them up against lots of my tried and tested and best loved bronzers that I already own. So what do you need to know about these two much hyped, much raved about bronzers? This one launched in the US and then instantly sold out, and then it seems to have appeared back on Sephora, but then it's sold out or something, or it says it's coming soon. And the Charlotte Tilbury is a permanent bronzer in her regular range. I'm not convinced that the Gucci bronzer isn't going to be permanent. It's just, it seems to be a little bit vague. My suggestion is that I have no idea why they would have made it refillable if it wasn't going to be permanent. That would be my question. So that's what I have to say about that. So both of these are very expensive bronzers. The Gucci bronzer is significantly more expensive and you get significantly less product. So the Charlotte Tilbury is far and away the more affordable choice. Both of these bronzers have several shades. Charlotte Tilbury has 4 shades. However, I'm not sure that the first shade counts, to be honest. I haven't seen anybody review that shade, shade 1, and it be successful as a bronzer that they enjoy and will use. It's just too light to bronze anybody that I certainly have seen. Please let us know down below if you do use shade 1 of the Charlotte Tilbury and it does work for you, because I haven't seen anybody use it. So I feel like really this has 3 shades and 1 that we don't understand. The Gucci has 5 shades, so it has 1 more shade in there. So that's worth noting. The Charlotte Tilbury is a very matte formula and the Gucci is a luminous finish. So those are the key differences and similarities. The Charlotte Tilbury also claims to have smoothing and perfecting and airbrushing qualities. It has that claim in addition. The Gucci is extremely, I will say heavily fragranced, because that's what people are saying. It's not my opinion. It's definitely fragranced. If I sniff the compact, I can smell a beautiful floral fragrance for sure. When I'm applying the bronzer, I don't really notice the smell, maybe a hair, and when it's on my face, there is no scent remaining. The Charlotte Tilbury has no fragrance, so that may be the deciding factor for you. And both of these bronzers are refillable, so both of them have both have pans that you can pop out. The Charlotte Tilbury has a hole in the back so you can pop it out, and the Gucci has this little sort of tab here that you can flip it out. So those are all of the comparisons, similarities and differences you will need to know to help you decide before we actually whack these on my face. So let's start off with some swatches and then get into the demo. So first up here is the Gucci swatch, and then here is the Charlotte Tilbury. You could instantly see the Gucci has that red undertone, which the Charlotte Tilbury is more of a sort of classic warm tone. Next up I have the 2 bronzers from the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. This is the lightest shade and this is the darker shade. So these are the Film Star Bronze and Glow palettes that have a bronzer and a highlight in, the lighter shade and the deeper shade, both much lighter than both these bronzers. And next we have the 2 Marc Jacobs Coconut bronzers. This is the shade Tantalize and Tantastic, which is the lighter shade. If you see again, Tantastic, much lighter. That's kind of similar to the Charlotte Tilbury lighter Film Star Bronze and Glow, and then Tantalize is actually pretty similar in tone to the Charlotte Tilbury shade, more sort of on the reddish undertone of the Gucci, but it's kind of closer in shade to the Charlotte Tilbury. And last but not least, we've got the bronzer from the Natasha Denona Bronze and Glow palette. Again, this is kind of closer as far as how deep or rich it is. It's got, I'd say, more of a reddish tone than the Charlotte Tilbury, but it's not, again, as red as the Gucci. So again, this is the Gucci bronzer in the shade Tan, the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer in the shade Tan. We've got the light shade of the Charlotte Tilbury Bronze and Glow and the darker shade of the Charlotte Tilbury Bronze and Glow. Then we've got Tantalize by Marc Jacobs, Tantastic by Marc Jacobs, and the Natasha Denona Tan Bronze and Glow palette. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the Gucci bronzer. Now, I'd say both of these bronzers are like dabbers. They're dabbers. They're not swirly brush type of bronzers. You want to just touch your brush in there. If you swirl, I do notice if you swirl, you'll really smell the fragrance in here. But if you swirl your brush in there heavily in either of these bronzers, you are going to get a lot of kick up, way too much product on your brush. So this is my Sonia G Face Pro, and I'm just touching, and that's all I do. I don't swirl or anything like that. It's just a touch. And I'm going to start pressing, then blending this in all the usual places. Hopefully you can see how easy, that's another press in there, how easily it blends out. Now today, I very lightly set my face with my By Terry powder. So I've got my Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate foundation and a very light wash of my By Terry powder, just to give us a base to buff this bronzer in. So you can see it's definitely not like, whoa, oh my gosh, too crazy. I think if you swirl and swirl your brush in there, I mean, with most bronzers, that's going to give you a bit of a fright a lot of the time if they have a lot of pigment, like I would say both of these do. But a dab each time, by the way my brush is going down, that's a dab. So it just builds up this way so lightly and naturally, and you just don't have any problems. The blend is just, with both of these bronzers, they're just so beautiful. Hopefully you can see I haven't put any highlight on today because I wanted you just to see what these bronzers look like as far as finish. I should probably wipe these swatches off my arm. But yeah, I think especially this one, it's so buildable. I think a lot of people are frightened of the shades because I think that the swatches are so confusing online. People don't obviously want to get one that's too dark for them to use. So my advice would be to choose off of the undertone that you prefer. So if you prefer a reddish undertone, which I do, then you might want to go for this shade. If you prefer a more warm undertone, go for one of the warmer shades, and just make your decision that way without fear. But from what I've seen, I saw Morgan Turner's review of this bronzer, and she picked up shade 2 and has since realised that shade 2 seems to be much darker than shade 3. So that's just something to note. So this is the bronzer on this side of my face, the Gucci bronzer. You can see that stunning glow. It doesn't have any visible shimmer or glitter or anything like that. It is just the most stunning natural luminosity is how I would describe the Gucci. So I just quickly cleaned off my brush and I'm going to go into the Charlotte Tilbury. You can see this one gets a little bit of kick up in the pan, and that's just with pressing. So I would tap this one off. I think you can see there as I'm just, my initial lay down is laying down more product. My hair is trying to have its moment today. Yeah, so I think this one is going to lay down more product initially, but it blends out so easily. It's not an issue. And yeah, you just want to pick up a little dab again, much like the Gucci. This is again a dabber, not a swirler as far as formula, and gently apply and build up. Again, very buildable. You don't need to be afraid of the color because it applies beautifully and softly, and you can build it up and just stop when you're happy with the amount, when you've got the amount of bronze. Oh, nearly cross-contaminated then. It's so natural to do. That was a close one. So I can instantly see the difference as far as finish. The Charlotte Tilbury obviously is completely matte, so it looks a little flatter. Obviously I don't have highlight on yet, so for me that's something. With the Charlotte Tilbury, I'm now going to go in with highlight. I'm going to go in with a luminous blush, whereas with the Gucci, like, you don't even really need a highlight, and you certainly don't need any more glowy blushes or anything like that. Obviously you can if that's your preference, but with the Charlotte Tilbury, because it is so matte, for my preference and my skin tone, I need to kind of liven it up, which in some ways I love, because I am a glowy girl and I do love glowy base products. So it's really good for me to have a matte bronzer so I can balance it out if I've got a glowy foundation like today, and then I've got a glowy blush and some highlight as well. That does give me a bit of balance and tones things down. But the finish of the Gucci is just glorious, natural luminosity. So I've zoomed you in a little more so that you can kind of see the really low light, natural daylight kind of effect of these bronzers. Again, still no highlight, nothing else, just foundation, and then this bronzer on this side, and then the Charlotte Tilbury on this side. So as far as like bronzing me and like the shade and the tone, I love them both. I feel they both apply beautifully, evenly, easy to blend out, no issues. They both wear really well. Literally the difference is going to be the finish, which is vastly different in my opinion. So there you have it. I love both of these bronzers. They are both, let's put them the right way around. This is how they are on my face. They're both stunning, glorious, beautiful bronzers that I will use just with glee and delight forever, or until they run out, whichever happens first. I think as far as saying which one do I prefer, which one do I love best, which one should you get, there's lots of different ways I could answer that. Obviously, if you have a preference for the finish, that's going to be the deciding factor. Both of these are great bronzers. Both of them perform beautifully. They apply beautifully and they wear very well, easily for 8 hours with minimal fading on both of these bronzers. If you prefer a matte finish, obviously it's the Charlotte Tilbury. If you prefer a luminous finish, the Gucci is the most beautiful bronzer I've seen. I think it's stunning. But the Charlotte Tilbury, as far as matte bronzer, is the best bronzer in that category that I have. That's my favourite bronzer. Before the Gucci came along, the Charlotte Tilbury was a standalone holy grail for me. Now I'd say they both are. It just depends which finish I'm preferring, what other makeup I'm wearing that day. If I'm going super glowy, it's Gucci. If I am using a lot of luminous, dewy skin, a lot of highlight, a glowy blush, I may go for the Charlotte Tilbury for some balance. But I will say that because of my personal preference for the glow, the luminosity, I think the Gucci edges it for me, but obviously your decision may be different, particularly if you're very sensitive or just hate fragrance, or if you react to fragrance in products, which obviously I don't, but that might be a deciding factor for you. So I hope you found this review, this video, this demonstration helpful. Please let us know if you have these, what shades. I know lots of people have really struggled with the Gucci shades. As I said, my recommendation is to go for the tone that you love. I love that reddish undertone that the Gucci has the shade 4. So for me, that was the one I wanted to go for, and I thought I can either use a light hand or build it up. And that's the easiest thing to do. It's very easy to, use products depending on their pigment, but you can't obviously change an undertone. So I would focus on the undertone, get the undertone that you want. There's lots of swatches out there. I know my friend Morgan has a review with a couple of shades. I think my friend Jenna has a review up. And I mean, everybody and their mate has got a review up, but those are some for lighter skin if you're looking at the lighter skin tones. Glam Girl Chelsea, I've seen her use, I think did she have 3 and 4? So yeah, there's a few shades out there, lots of reviews for you to see. Check all the reviews, check all the swatches, and find the one, the undertone, that's my undertone, that's the undertone I want, whether it's super warm or red or pinker as they get towards the lighter end, and choose that way. Charlotte Tilbury obviously have less options as far as the colour. I think most people with sort of fair to light medium skin are going to want to go with shade 2. I'd say my shade, my kind of skin tone, like an NC40, is going to want to use shade 3, and then any deeper than that, you'll want to go to the darkest shade that they have. So thank you so much for joining me. I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.